We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, Mavs fans. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined as always by Josh Bowe. Welcome to Pod Maverick. You're joining us just before 9 o'clock on Sunday, November 17th, where the Dallas Mavericks just beat the Oklahoma City Thunder by an inch, 121-119. Josh, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing okay. This was an interesting game. I don't know what your thoughts are, because I think we both I was in Slack a little bit, but I'm always curious when we go into these podcasts a little cold, so to speak, because we're just ready to record, because
we do this on purpose. We don't want to know what each other's thoughts are. Yeah.
So I want to know. I'm just curious, because this is obviously a galvanizing win. Second half of back-to-back, no Luka on the road against the best team in the Western Conference, and even though they were missing, three of their best six players, the Mavericks are missing Luka. So injury-wise, at most you could probably call it a wash. Both teams are missing obviously crucial starters. So this matter. This is not a throwaway win. I think coming off that San Antonio game, where you had your night off, and I think you took a good night off because that game was just not very interesting. The Mavericks just did what they had to do. I wanted to see how they followed that up, because they needed to prove something, I think, after that 4-game losing streak, and beating that Spurs team just showed that they had pride. I wanted to see what else they had left in the tank, and they showed a lot tonight. So I thought this was a fun game to watch, and it's obviously a really good win.
So first of all, this game says precisely nothing about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Still best team in the Western Conference, despite not having anybody over 6'6" that played a minute tonight. They're a frightening team, and they deserve a great deal of respect from the Mavericks. What this says about the Mavericks depends on what you like, how sort of existential you want to get.
How existential do you want to get tonight?
Right. I'm going to choose to be positive tonight. And I had a really good time watching PJ play. Forceful game. The post-up element of tonight was really fun from him. I liked watching the Mavericks. Just the offense had a lot more purpose and movement in it. Still not enough, mind you. They still do too much isolation stuff, and it just drives me fucking crazy. And I just had a nice time watching this game, and my I don't really want to have any big picture takeaways. And it's like we were laughing during the playback because, you're going to get your cadre of morons that come out here and be like, see, this is how the Mavericks should play. They need to trade Luka, blah, 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 blah. The same kind of stuff. And it's like, here's the thing. The team's built around Luka. Sorry, you don't like it? Go somewhere else. But I'm really delighted that they beat a very good team because, yeah, the Thunder didn't have anybody over 6'6", but they just played a fast-paced. They put a lot of pressure on the Mavericks. I think some things went against the Mavericks in certain ways that where, if Clay hits a single three more, does this game feel different? Fan 123 pointed out Markieff Morris got a stupid technical. Absolutely right. Like, if a couple of things go differently, do you feel differently about this game? And I'm just like, yeah. I mean, it feels like PJ Washington might get paid by the Mavericks just to punish the Thunder. Jordan Burness made that comment in our Slack, and it sort of stuck with me. I had a nice time watching a win. I felt the last 3 minutes of the game were marred by NBA legality more than anything else, between overuse of timeouts, between refs being unable to know what that, like, the Thunder called a timeout to force the refs to go look at that play. So we waited 3 minutes, and then they're like, oh, I guess we're going to have to go look at the play, which they should have done anyway, because every single play is reviewable in the last 2 minutes. Like, that's the rules. So it felt like a big waste of time. Like, that I don't want to off and took the juice out of the way I felt about the game. And so
I don't want to take too much from the last 2 to 3 minutes, because they were winning this game going away. They controlled the game down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And I guess we can't, it's not good that they kind of caught the way that game ended. Like, Najee Marshall kind of losing his mind on a couple passes, on a couple plays.
After playing such a great game.
Yeah, that was not great. Their execution down the stretch. I mean, it's really funny. You look at they had 16 turnovers, and I think they had 18 turnovers. No, they had 16 total turnovers. The bench was responsible for 12 of the 16 turnovers.
The bench being turnover central is preposterous.
Right. Like, why, like, how did Maxi Kleber get 3 turnovers in 14 minutes? Like,
that dude, one of his turnovers had me livid on the playback, where he does his bullshit Maxi pump fake and then realizes that he's Maxi Kleber and he shouldn't dribble, and essentially handed the ball to the Oklahoma City defender. Yeah.
Yeah. Not great. Not great when your bench has 12. I mean, it was funny because the starters did great. The starters only had, so what is that? They had 4 turnovers total and Kyrie only had 1 in 36 minutes. Like, they took care of the ball. It just got goofy. It got goofy at the end, and I don't know if it got goofy enough to be like, this is a problem, other than, like, obviously the clutch stuff. Like, I don't know what happens when these games get tense, and we'll have to talk about that. Maybe we live to fight another day and talk about that one more. But I thought it was, like, for me, what was more notable to me was how they played up until the final 2 minutes of the game than the 2 minutes. Like, I don't think those 2 minutes should outweigh the work that they did for the other 46 minutes of this game, because it was a lot of really impressive stuff. I mean, they scored really well. They scored 121 points, and they only made 11 3-pointers. Now, they shot the 3 well. They were 11 of 27, 40%. But the fact that they only made 11, which 11 is like a lot, that's nothing to sneeze at. But, like, league leading is like, 15, somewhere between 15, 16 threes. Like, they got outscored at the 3-point line. The Thunder made 14 threes. And the Mavericks did a good job scoring in the paint. I think they did a good job mixing it up. I think they did a good job playing to their strengths. That was something that I was curious if Jason Kidd was going to do. Like, I was wondering, okay, they obviously have the size advantage. OKC is playing no big men. They're playing no one over 6'6". Not only do the Mavericks have forwards bigger than the Thunder's forwards, like with PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Maxi Kleber, they got 2 centers, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Are they going to use that, or are they going to play down to Oklahoma City and play small ball and try to match Oklahoma City's small ball? Because we've seen, the Mavericks do that in the past. They try to match the small ball, even if they have a size advantage. And they didn't, Gafford played 18 minutes. Lively played 26. PJ played 28. And the Mavericks killed them on the glass. They absolutely decimated them on the glass, 53-29.
Wow.
Mavericks had, The Mavericks had 18 offensive rebounds to the Thunder's 7. The Mavericks had 24 second chance points to the Thunder's 7, and that's the game. And the Mavericks bullied them on the glass. PJ Washington, 17 rebounds on his own. He had 11 defensive rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds. So he still would have had a double-double if he didn't have any offensive rebounds. That's really impressive. I don't know what's going on with Derek Lively. He only got 4 defensive rebounds in 26 minutes. But
let's talk about him.
Okay.
We didn't really get into enough the other day because I think everyone was so mad at Luka, including me. Lively, buddy, you made your bones doing the dirty work in season 1. Little stuff, learning how to set screens, making the right read, making the right pass, challenging at the rim at the right time. This man is block hunting, and he is out of position all the time. I don't know what. Like they have to get him in a film session and be like, look at what you're doing here. Your size is negated if you jump out of the way and you can't get a rebound. 4 defensive rebounds. I mean, the way they fucked up that last rebound on the SGA missed
that was so funny.
was incredible. It was incredible. Now, if you think I'm being too harsh on him, fine. He was 7 inches taller than every single person in that game, and he had 4 rebounds. It can't happen.
Defensive rebounds, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had 1 offense. So he only had 5. Yeah, 5
So.
total. And otherwise, like he did play, like, you know, like he had some good blocks. He had some good stops at the rim. Like I think there were a couple of stops he got at the rim that looked like blocks. I don't think he got credited for.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really nice hook shot finish, but you're right. Like he's got to work on that. I thought Gafford rebounded the ball better than him. I mean, he did. He had 12 rebounds in 18 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was just good to see the Mavericks exert their size advantage and not play down to the Thunder. Like I would not have been shocked if this was like a PJ Najee Marshall front court, like down the stretch to try to close out the game. And the Mavericks, for the most part, played their bigs up until like the last possession where, you know, the Thunder were trying to get a 3 to tie the game. And then you don't really need a big man on the floor when you're switching everything and guarding the perimeter. So wait, are you looking at PJ's numbers?
PJ had 17 rebounds.
Yeah, that's what I said. He had a double-double without his offense. He had 11 defensive boards. He was great.
That's my
He was
bad,
amazing. Goes to show, like, they've, you know, 2 games back, they're 2-0, and their defense looks a little bit better. Their athleticism looks better. Their edginess, you know, he's I talked about this after the San Antonio podcast because it's really tough to talk about him because his offense was getting to a point where it was so bad that it was starting to negate his defense, because his defense, we've both talked about all season, has been so good, but like you have to put the ball in the hole a couple times. And he did tonight, 27 points, 10 free throw attempts. When was the last time a non-Luka, non-Kyrie Maverick had double-digit free throw attempts? I would love to look that up.
And what's crazy, one of my group chats, very active.
I'm gonna look that up right now. You talk.
Sure. One of my group chats that's filled with a bunch of very active Mavs fans. PJ's timeout was actually starting to get a little concerning because it's been a while, and you think knee injury, your brain just goes places, right? And so to see him come out and look like this, look fresh, it speaks to what getting healthy can do for a guy, which, you know, maybe a topic we want to discuss later in relation to Luka. But I was just pleased to see the offensive confidence, because one of the things that, you know, we talked about is defensive impact. His offense is pretty brutal for a lot of these games. The threes were one thing, but it's like just some of he was missing middies. This was the most confident game I've seen him play since the last time the Mavericks played the Oklahoma City Thunder. So really, really nice.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking, man, it's been Luka for a while. The Mavericks who have had 10 or more free throws in a regular season game. And honestly, I think we might be going back to Harrison Barnes. I might not have the data. Someone can maybe look that up better, because it looks like StatMuse. I didn't realize you had to pay for StatMuse to look that up. Sorry, everyone, but it might be Harrison Barnes. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's been a while. We don't see a lot of non-Luka, non-Kyrie Mavericks.
That's right.
Attempt double-digit free throws in a single game. So ups to PJ for being ready for the moment. And yeah, they played well. They played. We probably should we take a break because there's
let's take a break.
There's a conversation I want to have about Luka, not the one you think I'm going to have.
Ooh.
Not bad, but I do want to talk about it and kind of bring it home. But we probably should take a break because that's going to spur
guys. It's been 5 years of podcasting with Josh Bowe. That's the first time I think I've ever heard him do a tease.
I know. Wow.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. If you're new to the show, if you haven't actually hit that subscribe button, do me a favor and do so. It's very helpful to Josh and I. If you're listening on an audio stream, please consider leaving us a review. Also very helpful. If you're watching this video a little bit later, comments are fantastic. We really, really appreciate all of our listenership. I'm probably going to insert some ads here real quick, and then Josh and I will be right back.
2 timelines, 1 impossible mystery. Life is Strange Double Exposure follows Max Caulfield as she shifts between 2 timelines to solve a supernatural murder mystery after finding her friend Safi dead in the snow. In this parallel timeline, Safi is still alive and still in danger. With her new power, can Max solve and prevent the same murder? Buy Life is Strange Double Exposure, available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. Rated M for mature.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Okay, just one thought before you go.
Okay.
The Mavericks, the Thunder's largest lead in this game was only ever 3 points. The Mavericks led by as many as 14. Mm-hmm. I was really impressed with 2 things. On the Thunder side of the ball, the way they never died, and on the Mavericks side of the ball, the way they rebounded from some of these really quasi-stupid collapses that they were having. So.
Oh yeah, you're talking about how they kind of never
they never really
got too down on themselves.
Yeah, because it's I know that sports scientist people will say momentum isn't real. Well, those nerds never actually played the game. It's real, and when things start going bad, they can go real bad. Look at what happened to the Mavericks over their 4-game skid. And so I thought the resiliency just to settle down, like those Spencer threes. I was cursing as he shot both of them.
Yes,
and it was just he's he hasn't had one of those in a while, so I was pleased with it. Anyway, you have a take, so let's hear it.
Okay, so it's more just so obviously, like you said, there's going to be a lot of hot takes flying around. The Mavericks beat a playoff team without Luka, and there's going to be some people are going to want to stamp their flag on Take Mountain and get their first takes off. And yeah. The Mavericks had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mavericks had 7 players in double figure scoring, which doesn't happen too often. They obviously played well in spurts. They looked energetic. They looked lively. They looked engaged in 50-50 balls. They were hustling. Defensively, they were competing, but I wouldn't say they played like a clean defensive game. Like the Thunder still shot the ball pretty well. The Thunder still scored, despite the fact that the Thunder are all basically perimeter-based players. They scored, what did they score? 54 points in the paint. Like they still got into the paint a lot. The Mavericks still have some room to work on cleaning up dribble penetration so that they're not leaving their big men out to dry. Because Lively and Gafford had 3 blocks combined, that's pretty good for them. And they had some good contests, but the volume of contests that they're seeing is not great. The Thunder had 23 shots in the restricted area, 15 shots in the paint outside the restricted area. Like they got their, there's still work to do. So I'm not trying to say anything about that, not give into that take that people are going to come up with. The one thing I'll say is obviously Luka has not looked right this season physically. He started training camp with the calf injury, came back, never really looked like himself, started like the knee thing started coming up. Then now he's picking up a groin injury. Hasn't looked himself. and that's not even trying to be necessarily overtly critical of him, just saying he hasn't physically looked like himself. He looks banged up. And Luka said it himself after the Spurs game. I'm not 100%. I need, I don't know when I'm going to get healthy. We'll take some time, and hopefully I'll be better sooner. So what I would say is we haven't seen a healthy Luka in a long time, because he was basically hurt or hobbled for almost the entire playoff run last season. It's been like, I can't remember the last time we went, a week's worth of games where Luka looked good and wasn't limping, wasn't grabbing something. And I know for most of his career, he's been like the kind of guy that gets hurt and then he's not hurt anymore. Yep. But this feels a little bit more than normal. My take is they need to sit him for an extended period of time. And I'm not a medical guy, so maybe he doesn't need it. And we know Luka will try to play without a leg. He is the Black Knight and Monty Python Holy Grail. You can chop off his limbs and he would still try to play. Like, this is nothing against Luka. I just feel like the organization and the team has a responsibility to do right by him and take care of him and take the decision-making out of his hands, because we know if it's his choice, he wants to play. He will play every game, every minute. They got to get him right. I don't think they can keep him out tonight. And then if he comes back Tuesday and he's still hobbling, I don't know what good that does long-term. They got to get him healthy. He wasn't healthy all training camp and preseason. He finally comes back. He still doesn't look healthy. He's still picking up nagging injuries. Let him sit, get him right. And yeah, it's not going to be great for the win-loss record, I don't think, but you stole a game tonight. The schedule is very soft for the next 2 weeks. If it makes sense, the training staff, just rest him, get him right. And not just rest, get him through, get him prepared to play, get him healthy, but also, make sure that he's ready so that when he comes back, he's not trying to work himself, back into shape. Just get him right. I think he needs to be right. And I hope they're not doing this off on, okay, you're in this game. I hope he sits out more than a couple games here.
I hope he does too, because number one, if he comes back tomorrow or Tuesday, and that meant he skipped the Oklahoma game and just didn't want to go on the road, and I think that makes you a shitty teammate, and he's not a shitty teammate. But they give him some of this carte blanche stuff where it's I think he gets to do some things that other players don't get to do, and there's just, again, superstar treatment exists. We should all just understand that. But to me, it would look bad if he didn't go to a game that they won, and then he comes back and plays and will play hobbled. That part to me, I hope he doesn't play, and because I would like to see him get right too. And one of the things that was becoming clear over that 4-game losing streak was his teammates were getting very tired of his defensive miscues. And if you want to attribute his defensive miscues to lethargy mixed with the fact that he's uncomfortable and exhausted and in pain, whatever you want to attribute to, we probably shouldn't read too much into it. His teammates were getting tired of it. That is you watch their body language after he did something, it's not great. And that sort of stuff it takes a toll on everybody. I want to see Luka play as much as possible, but if you can't always play through something, and he wants to, but again, it's November.
Also play through something in March and April and May. They don't need him to play through something before Thanksgiving. Personally. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how hurt he is.
Right.
Knee
contusion sounds painful, but it's
I'm not trying to diagnose him from my chair. I would prefer to see him as healthy as possible. And if it means he has to miss more games than he likes, then I think you should be able to have a conversation with him and be like, look, man, you're limping around. We know that you're doing this for the team and that you want to be out there for your teammates and that you want to win, you want to compete, but you gotta be right, because you look at his numbers and he is scoring and his assist numbers, his counting stats are there. I posted some stats earlier today. He's at the lowest rim rate of his career so far. And again, we're 12, 13 games in. So lowest rim rate, he's shooting under 40% from that paint outside the restricted area, which is very bad for him. He's shooting terribly from three, which is another like get your legs right, because when his legs are right, that's usually when his three is right.
Yep.
You know, and he's not getting, like, you watch him, he's not getting to the basket. Like, that's the big thing. Like, he's driving and he's stopping short in the paint because I don't think he just doesn't look like he's comfortable enough to get around guys like he normally is. So for his own good, like, this is not, this, I just want to see him healthy. Like, just every game he comes out and he's limping and he's grabbing something, and it's like, clearly he just needs to get better. And I think the team will be better when he's better. And there's no shame in it. There's no, I don't think there's anything wrong with needing to sit out, as tough as that is. Like, I don't know. If he comes back, we'll see. If he comes back Tuesday and he looks great, then fine, we're cool. Like, if that's what he needed, then that's what he needed. But if he comes back Tuesday and then the next game, I think they play after that Thursday, and he starts limping again, he doesn't look right. Like, again, I don't think you're going to fix it. Like, do you want a gimpy Luka for the rest of the season? Like, try to nip this in the bud now when Kyrie's healthy. Like, what if if Kyrie turns an ankle in a week or two, you can't afford to sit Luka. Like, Kyrie's healthy, Lively's back, PJ's back, Najee's healthy. Like, for the most part, they have their team besides Exum. Now is a chance, while the rest of the team's healthy for the most part, sit him some games, get him right.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up, because one of the things that Tim McMahon of ESPN said on the Hoop Collective podcast, that as far as his reporting can tell, Luka was already playing more minutes than they were comfortable with because of the injuries. Playing a lot of minutes. Like, I think they want to top him at like 35, 36, and he was playing in the high 30s and low 40s.
Low 40, yeah. You should not be consecutive low 40 minutes in a regular season.
And let's just put it to you. So if you're a guy, you're out there, you're saying, okay, what's 4 minutes more a game? Well, over 12 games, that's an entire game. 4 minutes, it's an entire, it just matters. So anyway, I'm curious to see how this susses itself out. They play on Tuesday, then they play on Friday. Fan123 noted in the chat, he's like, I think Luka might be back Friday, but look, that's 6 days off.
That's
like
good.
6 days, like, that's a lot. Who knows? And if knee contusion is essentially a knee bruise, but honestly, they talked about his groin earlier they were like, well, maybe it's a groin thing. Like, I don't know what is wrong with him, other than I'm just saying there's something wrong with them. It's there, Luka's gonna be mad about the refs. Luka's gonna occasionally lapse on defense, but this was something else.
Yeah, he can't move. Like, at times he looks like he can't move.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he doesn't want to move. Like, there's a difference between not moving because you don't care, or you effed up, and not moving because you physically don't feel like you can make the basketball play.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Well, and
and someone said, this sums it up, right? This comment, we just want to play with joy. Like, it's not been there. And I think it's because he's probably frustrated with his physical condition, I would think. I don't know. Maybe there's other stuff going on we don't know about, but we can only comment on what we see. And I would just like to see him looking as healthy as he can. And I think they can get away with it right now.
Well, before we get out of Dodge, I do want to throw a little hat tip to a couple of players. Like, Jaden Hardy hit. Jaden Hardy hit 6 shots tonight. I'm pretty sure he had hit 15 shots all season.
All twos. All twos.
All twos. Really, yeah. Some decisive play from him.
Yep.
I think I was talking about this during the playback. I think what I like most about him is when his decision tree is like A or B. He drives, shoots, drives, pass. Like, when he has the opportunity to make a multi-tiered decision is when I'm like, bad things here.
He's such a better catch and shoot player than like a size up pick and roll.
But he had like some drives and spins and tough buckets.
Catch and go player.
Real tough. Yeah. Real stuff. We didn't talk about Najee at all, who his stat line, kind of not underwhelming, but 13-4. And 3 with 4 turnovers. Those turnovers were pretty brutal.
His plus minus would have looked a lot better if he didn't have those meltdown turnovers in the final 2 minutes.
That's right. But and Grant, the DJJ conversation perks up every now and again, depending on who you're talking to. So Derrick Jones Jr. is shooting 45% from 3 on about 3.5 shots a game, or threes per game, which is just hilarious. And I will simply say that I think that as much as I like what Derek Jones Jr. brought to the table. I think the long-term, like more multiple element of what Najee brings is what this team needs. So that's just the sort of where I sit. Just going through and looking at the rest of the stuff. We don't talk about Quentin Grimes near enough. I just like this guy. I'm delighted with him.
You sound like every Knicks fan from like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what all our Knicks fans were like, right? Like every Knicks person we knew was just like, God, like they didn't want to put him in trades, remember?
Yep.
Like back when he was healthy with them, like they would be like, no, you got to take Grimes out of it when they were building their fake trades back in the day, back 3 years ago.
He mixes it up with the rebounds, and he only had 3 in 21 minutes, but it's just like, again, Derek Lively had 5 in 26 minutes. So I'm pleased with him. I hope Kid continues to give him a little more burn. A lot of fans in the comments now are kind of asking, are you guys going to talk about Clay? They were trying to get the guy shots because he had gotten into such a hole. At one point, he was 1 of 7, and then they pulled him out. And then the Mavericks put him back in, and then he missed 4 more.
He missed some good shots, too. The thing with Clay, though, is it's like you got to talk about it, but it's like I don't know what to talk about because I don't think he took terrible. Like,
nope.
He has to make them, right? Like, that's
we could say the same thing about Najee Marshall. We could say the same thing about all these Mavericks. Like, you got to hit the open shots here. Yeah. When or if they ever move Clay around, Timothy in the chat says Clay needs to move to the second unit. Maybe he will. Like, we haven't seen a lot of the same starting lineups due to injuries and stuff like that. So Najee Marshall is shooting 14% from 3. Like, some of this stuff will just swing another direction given enough time. So I still have faith that Clay will be fine. I'm not, if they would have lost this game, Clay's shooting probably would have been an early headline. But again, I think, and this is not exactly my forte, but the glass is half full kind of look at this is the Mavs survived. The Mavs beat the number 1 team in the West, ignore their injuries, with Clay shooting 1 for 11 from 3.
Yeah. And also Clay played 25 minutes, which is for a close game, like, clearly they're comfortable not just force feeding him on the floor and sitting him out there for 35 minutes or whatever, even without Luka. Like Grimes still played 21 minutes, Najee 27, Hardy played 24. Like they went away from Clay when it wasn't like, that's the thing. Like, because that's the worry. It's not like, all right, talk about Clay, what's he doing wrong? And it's like, I don't know, he's missing open shots. The thing you talk about is the coaching staff willing to, when he's on a cold one, to mix it up a little bit. And I think him only playing 25 minutes, which still is a lot, like 25 is still a lot. It's not like they outright like benched the dude, but clearly they extended the bench a little bit more because he wasn't playing well. Like if he was playing well, I don't know if Hardy plays 24 minutes or Dinwiddie plays 17. If Clay is making 7 threes.
I mean, if these guys have their things going, everybody's minutes on the slider are going to get bumped around. Yeah. I believe that, And Paul says Clay's at 37.3%.
Yeah. He's a streaky guy. Like he's gonna have a game where he makes 7 threes, and he's gonna follow that up with a game where he makes 1 3.
Yep.
And I know that drove people nuts about Tim Hardaway Jr. And I get it. Also, I think like this, for the last few years, I want to say we might have like another Reggie Bullock situation where he just does not shoot the ball very consistently in October and November, and he kind of starts turning it around December. Historically, I don't have his career splits up, but I want to say that was floating around the other day is that he doesn't necessarily start seasons well shooting the ball, which is funny because that was exactly what was the problem with Reggie Bullock when he was here. So,
yeah. Well, all right. I don't want to talk anymore about this.
Yeah.
I don't want to read too much into it.
I'm not
going to host a secondary show tonight, guys. I apologize. Been a long weekend here at the house. I want to go hang out with my wife a little bit so she doesn't broadside me in the back of the head here one day being frustrated with all this Mavs stuff. So we got a game Tuesday and a game Friday. Lighter week after the Mavericks played a ton of – Mavericks basically played 5 and 7, if my math is correct. Did we only get 2 – or did they play 4 and 7? I feel like they played a lot is the point. So we get Tuesday game and then a Friday game, I think is where we're sitting. So
yeah, but would you say they don't have 2 consecutive days off for a while? Like
well,
it's either back-to-backs or every other game?
Yeah. So this 2-day break is kind of the longest in the schedule.
Wait, when do they play next?
So they play Tuesday and then they play Friday. So the 2-day break from Wednesday, Thursday is one of their longer breaks. They also get one right. They get the break around Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving falls on the 28th this month, which I think I had a friend of mine. This absolutely killed me. She scheduled. She's like, well, we're going to go on a Disney cruise. And my wife and I, man, wasn't that expensive? And she was like, it really wasn't as expensive as I thought. And the reason her Disney cruise wasn't as expensive as she thought is she scheduled it for this last week. So she had to take her kids out of school because she thought Thanksgiving was was this week coming up. Like she's gone now because she thought Thanksgiving is normally like.
So now her kids are going to be out 2 straight weeks of school.
Absolutely.
Whatever. That'll be all right.
Laugh. Okay, everybody be good. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe, Pod Maverick. Thanks so much for hanging out. We appreciate you spending your time here with us. We know you have a lot of options when it comes to Mavs work. We will be back here on Tuesday. Head on over to MavsMoneyball.com and check out our stuff. Plenty of written content coming, and have a great start to your week. Go Mavs.